one of the major problems, one of the many major problems, one of the many major problems of modern social media, such as YouTube, but not just YouTube, is that it is replete with Americans, dominated by Americans, who give their idiotic, crazy American ideas, the idiotic, crazy American opinions, the idiotic, crazy American thoughts about idiotic, crazy American problems. And you know what the problem is with that? I just don't care. I don't care. Yes, I'm sure that, gun control or Roe versus Wade was very shocking for you over in the US, but honestly, as a European, I just don't care. I just don't care. And that is the problem with social media right now. That is one of the many problems with social media right now. That is the problem with YouTube, because it's all just Americans talking about American problems in America with American politicians, and America this and America that, and who gives a damn, really? I do not. I don't. I am a European. I am from Europe. I live in the EU. And I don't care about American problems. I don't care. I care about European problems. And my Lord, do we have our own problems right now. We have so many problems in Europe that we just not talking about, that we're just not discussing, that we're just letting slide. I mean, inflation, war, coming hunger, a rise in poverty, a complete and utter housing crisis across Europe. Try and find a home anywhere in especially Western Europe right now, in the Netherlands, in Germany, in Belgium, in France. Try and find a decent, affordable home. It is not gonna happen, because this is a systemic crisis facing Europe that nobody is discussing. Why? Because, let's be honest, when you try and find any kind of news about Europe on social media, on YouTube, also on Odyssey, on Twitter, on Facebook, on whatever, something that's specifically European, you're not gonna find it. You're gonna find Americans talking about their stupid American problems. And frankly, I am sick about hearing about America and Americans. So this is something I don't want to talk about. I want to talk about Europe and how we can fix Europe. And we need to fix Europe. We need to fix Europe. Europe needs fixing, because this shit is not working. This shit is not working. It's not working the way it's supposed to. It is not working the way we need it to work. This is obvious. I think it's obvious. You need to be blind and self-delusional to think that the EU is working right now the way we as Europeans need it to work. This is not doing what it's supposed to do. Don't forget the EU. What is the EU supposed to do? The EU is supposed to help Europeans cooperate better. The whole point of the EU is the idea that instead of fighting each other and going to war against each other, we should cooperate. We should work together for the good of all Europeans. Doesn't matter where they're from in Europe. Doesn't matter if they're from West Europe, East Europe, North, South, Middle, whatever. Doesn't matter what country they're from. The idea that we can cooperate and create a greater whole out of the separate countries, which have value in themselves, but taken together we can create something more, we can create something better, we can create new cooperation. That is the idea behind the EU. And we can see right now that it's really not working, and that is a problem we need to fix. But how are we gonna fix this? How we're gonna fix this? First of all, we're gonna fix this by talking about Europe, not about the US, not about the rest of the world, but focusing on Europe specifically and Europe's problems specifically. Can we do this? Yes, of course we can. We just have to. Second of all, we need to be honest about the failings of Europe. We also need to be honest about the successes of Europe, because there have been some, yes, not as many as we need, not as many as we would like, but there have been some, sure. But we also need to be brutally honest about how the EU has failed so far, and what we need to do to fix it, what we need to do to rescue this project from its own ineptitude, from its own culture of hypocrisy and corruption that is taking over, that has taken over the EU. And there are so many symptoms of this disease of corruption within the EU. The way that the president of the European Union, basically, technically speaking, she's the president of the European Commission, but she acts as the Empress of Europe, Ursula von der Leyen. How she's been able to completely sideline both the European Parliament and the European Commission and the European negotiation team during the last 2 years. How she's been able to sideline the entire European democratic system, the entire European government system, de facto government system, and basically do deals on her own, and then afterwards refuse to share the information about how she did these deals. It is a symptom of what is wrong and what we need to fix to save this. And what do we really need to save the EU? What do we really need to do to save Europe? Well, step one is demand transparent government, demand some real democratic systems, some real democratic government systems in Europe. We can no longer have a European Commission which has both executive and legislative power at the same time. Ever heard of Montesquieu? Montesquieu was a French philosopher who came up, basically, who codified the idea of the separation of powers, and Europe has embraced the idea of the separation of powers in government structures. The fact that you cannot combine legislative and executive power in one body, in one ruling body, because that is not a democratic government, that is a junta. It is a regime. It is not honest, it is not democratic, it is not fair, it is not transparent, it doesn't have any responsibility toward the people it rules. No. A system like that is fundamentally unfair, untransparent, and autocratic. And that is what we have in Europe right now, an autocratic system. And this is something we need to get rid of. Now, can we? Yes, we can. I believe we can. I believe we can, and we must. But these are discussions we need to have right now. These are discussions we need to have right now. And it doesn't help that the social media we follow then is completely dominated by Yanks talking about American problems and American people doing American things in an American way. Because honestly, that does not help us in Europe. We need to regain our independence from the US. We need to regain our independence as Europeans in the world. This is what we need to do. And this is why I am making this video right here, because I would like to try and start a new conversation specifically about Europe and how we can save this continent, how we can make it independent, how we can stop our complete dependency on the US for policy, for military protection, for economic guidance, basically, for any kind of decision making. Right now, Europe is completely dependent on the US for everything, and it is crazy, it is insane. But this is the result of trusting the European politicians that are in power right now, who are completely transatlantic. We have seen this in von der Leyen's speeches herself, where she has said that, yeah, the EU is the political and economic leg of Europe, and NATO, which is dominated by the US, is the military leg of Europe. This is crazy. This is insane. Explain to me exactly why can't Europeans defend their own continent? Why? I do not understand this at all. It is crazy, it is insane, and it needs to stop. Europeans need to stop being so damn dependent on the US and the rest of the world. We need to stop being military dependent on the US. We need to stop our industrial dependence on China. And yes, we also need to stop being so dependent on the Russians for their gas and shit. There are solutions we can find. Yes, we can. The problem is our neoliberal rulers, basically the politicians who rule Europe, which are all neolibs. They completely believe in dependency. They completely believe in outsourcing European jobs to China and the US and Russia and wherever. They completely believe in outsourcing everything. They believe that Europe should not be able to be independent, should not be able to rely on itself, and I believe that is wrong. I believe that is insane, and I believe that needs to stop right now. So please join me in this discussion about Europe. Give me your opinions about what you think should be done to save this continent, to make it independent again and democratic and a bit fair, you know. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. So please give me your opinion, let me know what you think, and join me in this discussion. And I look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you very much.